Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is June 28th, 2022. This is episode 515. Today we're looking at Fables. This comes out from DC Comics. It's a black label comic. Number 150 Fun is the issue. Came in at a whopping $3.99. And this is actually a new arc called The Black Forest, part 1 of 12. Now, for me, this is not a recommend. I would think that people that have been reading Fables and like it, they'll probably like this. But this really leaves you high and dry if you're just trying to jump in at this time. It looks like something should be pretty accessible, but it's really not, unfortunately. And we've seen this before with some of the other comic books that I've read where it's a new arc or something, but they give you no background and you're just kind of thrown into the mix. And this is one of those. So on the cover here, we have Greenjack, at least the new Greenjack. And I'm assuming she is the replacement for the Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. I'm not 100% sure, but she is now an archer. She's taking the place of the former Greenjack, who is retired, I guess, or is moving out of the story. Bill Willingham is the writer on this, and he writes very well. But like I said, there's no lead into this, so it was kind of like I was lost from the beginning. So let's go ahead and take a look to see who worked on this. I think it's right here somewhere. Talk amongst yourselves. I probably passed it up. Oh, here we go. Boy, this is really small. This is going to be tough to read, so I'm going to zoom way in. So this is the Black Forest, Chapter 1, Greenjack. Black Forest is the arc, 12 issues. Bill Willingham is the writer and creator of the Fables. Mark Buckingham, so we got two Hams, is the penciler and does the variant cover. Steve Liana something is the inker. I'm going to butcher that, so I'm going to stop. Lee Lowridge is the colorist, and Todd Kallneer is the letterer. Let's see, I can't read that. Is it Christina Kallneer is the cover artist. So we'll take a look at this. I thought this art was, the art itself is okay. I don't really like the colors on it. It's just kind of, it was hard to tell what it is, especially this part. It is just the highlights are in the wrong spot or something, and all the colors are kind of from the same palette, not giving enough variation, in my opinion. There is some nice little scrolling at the bottom there, some inscribement of plants, I guess. But she is our hero. She kind of looks a little bit like Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, perhaps. And I wasn't quite sure what this thing was back here, because this is her hat on this side, and it kind of flips up. So there's some, I'm not sure what that is, what that's supposed to be. It looks almost like a mistake, unless it's her cape or something. I'm not quite sure. All right, so let's get into this story. And as far as I can tell, we have Fabletown, and Fabletown exists, or it used to exist, right in the middle of Manhattan. And they didn't know it. Nobody knew it in Manhattan. They just kind of lived there, and this was kind of like this secret society of fables. And I guess each fable has their own characters. Now, it was discovered, I guess, at the end of the last issue that this place exists, and so Manhattan is now checking it out. And we've got this gentleman here that really doesn't, he appears, but we don't know. I guess he's a bad guy or maybe a heavy. I'm not quite sure, but they're being investigating the Fabletown now from the outsiders, and apparently only 4 people stayed behind. So we've got Geppetto, and then we got this talking cat, and then they also found 2 dead bodies. So those are the 4 people that stayed behind. All the other people left Fabletown and are trying to make their way to new homes. And that's part of what I guess this whole story is about, is that they have left Fabletown, so I expect them probably to come back in issue 12. So over here, we just have this, they have the close-up of this guy. He's not happy that Fabletown has been, he's kind of the heavy here, that has been found. And I think that's kind of the end of his appearance in this issue. So I don't find out that much about him. I don't know who he is exactly, as they've got the police down there checking out all this stuff. Now we got an ad for Poison Ivy here. Humanity had its chance. Now it's time for Poison Ivy, written by G. Willow Wilson. I don't know if she's going to be lesbian or Muslim or what, or we'll have to find out, I guess. It's a pretty nice drawing. I do like that drawing. She's cutting up something here. Looks like a steak. I'm not sure what it is, but nice drawing. She's got the knife and fork out. Covered by Jessica Fong, coming out this month, June. And you can see there's, you know what June is. That's right, Flag Day. Okay, going on to the main story here. We've already gone through this. Chapter 1, Greenjack, in which things continue more or less where we left off. Well, we have no idea where it left off because we're jumping in on this. So there's animals in the forest, and they're all trying to find out what's going on. I guess there's a lot of movement in this black forest. We've got a bunch of different groups. One of them is Greenjack. And there we go. She is introduced. I don't know who she was before, but she comes up against Mama Bear from, I'm guessing, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It turns out they know each other, so they don't kill each other off. In fact, they do not strike a single blow against each other. And they leave on good terms, as you can see here. So she's going to be the new Greenjack, which I think is Jack and the Beanstalk. There's some nice drawing in here all the way through. The story just did not grab me, and I just didn't know what was going on. So they're bringing the 2 dead bodies from Fabletown into the coroner. He's going to do an autopsy on them. Then we have this Time to Repaint the World, the Milestone Initiative M. So that was a former label, I guess. Icon and Rocket. They're brought back just in time. And now we've got this other group here. These are werewolves, and they're trying to find a new home. They were in Fabletown as well, and they're out in the wilderness. They're going to try to go back to the woods in which they were the rulers and take that back. So they're kind of camping for the night, and then the kids find out there's no TV. They're very upset. There's not going to be any internet. They're just going to be living natural. And the dad asks them to go ahead and turn into their other form and go out and find some food for us. But and the mom says, take your clothes off first because we're running out of clothing. So, yeah, that's the name of that little skit there. Here's an ad for the Sandman. Meanwhile, we were going to go over to the old Greenjack, and you can see he's very, very old. He's with, I believe that's the goose that lays the golden eggs. I'm not sure. They're kind of arguing back and forth a little bit. The goose is saying she's hearing howling. I guess she's hearing the howling from the werewolves that have shown up in the forest. Then we get Batman Fortress, 8-issue run. Started in May, so that was last month. I'm a little behind, I admit. I got a couple more to go, and then I'm going to go back down the shop. I think I'll be 2 weeks behind starting tomorrow. So Greenjack, the new Greenjack, shows up at the old Greenjack and says, I'm taking over. That all the women are archers now. That's kind of this thing in here. They're all archers, so I don't know if she's referring to Kate Bishop as well or somebody else, but they are all taking over the old characters, and now they're all archers. Meanwhile, we're back in the forest again, and these little critters come up upon the werewolf family. And I guess I'm supposed to know what story they're from. All I can think is Grimm's Fairy Tales or something like that, or Little bit Red Riding Hood, but I am not sure. And so they kind of go off on their own. Meanwhile, back at the coroner's office, they're doing the autopsy. He cuts into the dead body and it is actually alive. I don't know who this person is. I guess if I read the last arc or 2 or 3 or how many there were, we'd know for sure. And we see this corpse alive where the doctor's like, what is it? But she doesn't appear to be too aggressive. She was just woken up when he used the scalpel on her. So there you go, to be continued. I don't think I'm going to continue with it just because I am so lost in this. The story's not grabbing me enough to go back and look. I think people maybe that are... I think this series was very, very well received when it initially came out, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fans in that. So I will recommend it for fans of Fables at this, because the writing is good, the art is pretty good. I enjoyed trying to figure it out, but I just could not tell what was going on. So, and a 12-issue arc is not something I want to really dive into at this time. So there you go. Okay, something terrible lies at the bottom of the ocean, and it's waking up. Aquaman Andromeda, written by Ram V. I'm not loving this artwork, though. I don't really like that kind of stuff, but maybe some will really like it. It says art by Christian Ward, if you're into him. That came out this month. Batman Fortress, another ad for it with a question and answer, it looks like. Superman and Lois, CW. I guess that's still on, which is pretty cool. So a lot of people seem to like the show. I've not seen it yet. And then we have an ad for the DVD of Batman with Robert Pattinson. So there you have it. Fables, recommended only for fans of Fables. People trying to jump in here, they're going to be very confused and not know what's going on. Now, Bill Willingham is a good writer. I just think that they should have had some explanation. Now, I've had a couple other writers that are very good that I've kind of gotten lost in their stories, but I'm continuing on. That was Christopher Priest on Draculina and Cy Spurrier. I just finished that, The Rush. He used an old-time dialect throughout the whole arc there, 6-issue arc, whereas Christopher Priest has a lot of interdimensional time jumping and flashbacks and all these vehicles, but his writing has got a lot of humor in it, so I'm sticking with that one. It's fun enough to try to figure out. This one I'm just not having a lot of fun with. So there you go. Thanks for stopping by and watching this video review of Fables, The Black Forest, part 1 of 12. Actually issue 151 if you're counting, so there's quite a legacy behind it. As always, please like, please subscribe, please leave comments, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones bidding you adieu.